I want to ask you, Amal, about why you've chosen a court, why a court case is the right way to fight ISIS. We're fighting ISIS militarily. What does it mean to try to fight ISIS in a court?
Well, I think the most important reason is this is what the victims want. I've interviewed many Yazidi women around the world, and even though they have very immediate concerns, some of them are in refugee camps, they're not sure whether their tent's going to make it through the winter. They all say, when I say, is justice important to you? They say, yes, we want our chance to face our abuses in court. And that's not unique to Yazidis. You know, we've seen in many situations around the world that when you don't have justice, when you just turn the page, a cycle of violence continues. I think that's true in the country where I was born, in Lebanon, where after a 15-year civil war, none of the warlords were put on trial. And so that kind of turn-the-page approach doesn't really work. You still see the same tensions between the communities. You know, you have the Armenian genocide was 100 years ago, and the fact that that's still being denied causes tensions, understandably, between Armenians and the Turkish community. So I think it's very important across all of these conflicts for victims to have this kind of recognition of what's happened. And it's also important from the perspective of deterring future perpetrators from committing these crimes. You know, if ISIS fighters thought that they would be sitting in the dock in The Hague for the crimes that they commit, then wouldn't they be less likely to commit them? And, you know, even when you think about recruiting, ISIS has unfortunately been extremely successful at recruiting people from countries all over the world. People are leaving European countries to go and fight this war. It would be helpful if they could see these fighters paraded in a court and facing justice, so that they were less likely to be duped into thinking that this is some kind of holy war, which of course it's not. It's a perversion of the religion that they use as a justification. But so I think for both those reasons, trials are important. It's important for the victims, and it's also important to deter future ISIS recruits or people like ISIS from fighting again.
Tell us a little bit about where your personal passion for this work comes from. You mentioned Lebanon, and your parents, of course, immigrated from Lebanon when you were very young. Mm-hmm. What is it that comes from your heart that drives you to do this work?
Well, I didn't really know that I was going to become a human rights lawyer. I knew I was interested in studying law, but actually this is a relatively new field. All these trials that I was talking about, Rwanda, Yugoslavia, are basically 20 years old. So when I went to law school, I had to study things like Roman law because